Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Well, Tyler Wisecup here from NFM headquarters with the smooth tones of Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Becca. And of course, Hilary Waltemath, Visual Display General Manager.
Hey.
Hi, Hilary. And we also have Renee Quevedo, our brand strategist.
Good morning.
Hi, Renee. Today, we've got another episode in our resolution series. We're talking intentional living. What is it, how to do it, and giving some real life examples. But before we get to that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast, and that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. Learn more at nfm.com. And so I'm going to start this episode a little differently. I'm going to ask a question. How would you describe your home life? Is it inspired? Is it meaningful? Is it boring? For the last year plus, we've been introducing this podcast with the idea that your home life should be your best life. We just said it a few moments ago. So that's something I truly believe that we all can achieve, and easier than you might think. But I feel like too many of us, and myself included on this, fall into the trap of letting our environment have a greater influence on the way that we live than choosing to influence our environment to the way that we want to ultimately live our best home life. And it means different things to different people, of course. But what do we do? How do we make our best lives at home? We make the spaces in our home, the answer, a reflection of who we are and how we want to live. So for our episode today, outlining 3 simple steps for living intentionally. So Becca, Hilary, Renee, how does this episode strike you so far? Are you squirming in your seats a little bit? Are you excited?
I was trying to think of a word there for a minute there, and it's just taking a full minute. I was like, I don't want to diss my home life, but I also I came up with in progress.
In progress.
Okay.
I just feel like I'm just in progress with it all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hilary, Becca, what do you think?
Oh, I have lots of words. I don't know if I can put it into one. I can definitely relate to
Steal it, girlfriend. Steal it.
in progress. But Dan and I both had a fully furnished space, and then coming together, we have a lot of stuff, and we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff, but I'm still hanging on to a lot of things that I really like, but I just don't have room for.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's some of the stuff I'm hanging on to. Why do I have to? I really want to, but having so much furniture crammed in all of these rooms gives me some anxiety too. So I don't know how to put that in one word, but that's how I'm feeling.
Well,
I think that was 120.
Yeah.
So I think you nailed it.
I think you ended on anxiety, and I think that is a feeling that is happening because of all the stuff that you have, and whether or not this conversation is going to solve that for you, probably won't. But we're going to try. We're going to ask some questions and see where we get with it. And you mentioned Dan, your
my fiance.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations, officially spoken on the podcast.
Yes.
That's the only way to make it totally official.
Right.
Becca, what do you think?
I mean, I would say chaos. Yeah, I mean, only because I like stuff organized and whatever, but I feel like my house doesn't belong to just me anymore. I feel like my kids have overtaken most everything. And so they are a little different than I am.
Well, they're probably getting
apparently
to the age
all
too,
of them
they
are
have
pack
preferences.
rats. Oh yeah, they all have preferences, and apparently none of them can throw anything away.
Yeah.
So
No.
I
which
don't
is
know.
so different from you. Like you tell me the stories about
Yeah, I'm like nothing to
your
me is
family
sentimental.
bringing
Like,
stuff over
you
to your
know,
house,
yeah,
and
and then
you're
I just
automatically-
dumpster. That's so
So sweet. I
My
left it there on
kids-
purpose.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm always open for
Yeah.
I don't know, figuring out ways to make it more intentional, better, whatever.
Well, I think Renee's comment, the idea of being in progress, is a perfect segue into this topic. So I want to, again, make it simple, fun for everyone listening. So we have just 3 steps, and I'm going to hopefully walk through some examples and see what we can learn and what we can share and help educate folks about. So the first step for living with intention is a simple one. It's defining what's important to you. I think we listed several things within our home lives so far. And there's endless paths to take with this step. We can talk about the aesthetics. We can talk about design styles, anything from your shabby chics to your new century modern, your farmhouse. We can talk about broad types of living like minimalism or maximalism, or shades of gray in between all of that. But we can also talk about like your interests, the way that you want to live at home, whether you're a foodie or you're a gamer or you're really into movies. But the only question, again, that I think really matters during this step is my home a real representation of the home life that I want? Whether I'm a family person and I've got, I got to figure out a way to make sure that we have great open spaces to enjoy each other and the time that we have together. Or as Becca's groaning throughout it, maybe it's about finding places where you can all
That's
be
where the
separated.
hiding spaces. That's what you're trying to find.
Having those quiet moments.
Out of my eyesight.
Yep.
So, in a previous conversation, we talked about the idea, and I love this question about thinking about what's not working in your home life right now. What areas of your room are underutilized, or you just keep running into the same kinds of problems? And so let me pose that question to you 3 and see if you can tell me, is there something that's not working in my home today?
Oh, I've got one.
Go, Becca.
So for whatever reason, my kids think the best place to play like catch with a ball, do gymnastics, is the entryway. So like by our front door in our living room. And it doesn't matter. Like I've like set up stuff in the basement. I made them like a game room upstairs. Like it doesn't matter. They need to, and it's like I don't know. Well, it's actually my ball from like a workout class from Pure Bar. They think that that's the best ball in the world, and they love like playing catch with it, like right and like throwing it up against the like 20-foot ceiling.
Oh my God.
It drives me insane.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, like before school, after school, 24/7, that ball is like hitting the walls or the ceiling.
Wow.
So yeah,
It's a tough place to
that's
reach.
not working for me.
And they love the 20-foot ceilings, and I assume like the game room area.
No. I think they don't want to be. They want to be like, like I'm usually either in the kitchen, like I'm mostly usually in the kitchen. Like that's where you can probably find me.
Okay.
And which I feel like is common for a lot of people's houses. Like that's like the center of the home, right? But they don't want to be. I keep thinking like, I mean, my oldest is 14. Like he's a teenager. Like
He wants out of
you
your
would
sight.
think like he doesn't want to be around, but like they just want to be wherever I am. And so
You're cool, Mom.
I mean, I don't know. So yeah, like
Some
you come in our house
shadows.
and there's like a gymnastics floor bar and this ball going 24/7.
Oh my gosh.
And that space currently isn't how you wanted it set it up in any way, right? Like
Want a room for guests to
It's
come
like
in.
slash.
Yeah. Yeah. Like basketball court or wall ball. It's more like a wall ball court.
right.
Slash
gym.
gym.
I think that's a good one. I don't know that we have like a super answer, and at least I don't. But like I think you've identified it, and that's the first step, right?
Yeah, I think you probably caught what the root cause of it, like not to be like secluded in basement or upstairs.
Yeah, I'll be like, go in the basement. I mean, we've got like Pop-A-Shot in the basement. They've got all sorts of stuff, but it just doesn't. It's not where everybody is.
Yeah.
So that's not where they go.
Yeah, maybe you just need to like live stream what's going on in the
There you
kitchen
go.
into the
kitchen.
There you go.
Like, you guys aren't missing any. I always am like, you're missing nothing. Like nothing exciting is happening.
Yeah,
But
you just might.
that's
love
where
that.
that's where we hang
A
out.
live stream idea, bringing technology. into
Yeah,
it,
I'm
Hilary.
sure.
Yeah.
You know, what's it?
Holograms in the future.
Twitch or like
Yeah, you could stream the kitchen. Like, what
Oh
an
my
excellent
God.
Twitch channel.
I've never even seen what Twitch looks like. I've just heard it about it. So
Well, I'm glad that we're
Yeah.
talking
Coming
about it
soon.
with authority on this podcast.
Gosh, the cooking
Yeah.
channel is going to be in trouble if that happens.
What about you two? Anything come to mind?
Oh gosh, I would probably say it all feels very closed off.
Mhm.
Like the turns are tight. I don't know. The kitchen is closed off from the living room, so I can't like watch and do things.
Mhm.
Like it's just it's complicated layout maybe,
Mhm.
and that's what it is. I just want a new house,
Mm.
but that's not going to solve it. So
Right.
finding out ways to make the space feel maybe intentionally closed off might be a good way to go about it, or I don't know. I
Yeah.
just want to enjoy the space and not be worried
Well,
about
what does the idea of openness mean to you? Like, what is that? What is that going to give you? Is it's the two of you,
Clarity.
your dog, okay?
Yeah.
But you like to entertain.
Yeah, I do like to entertain, and I think that's probably part of it. Like I feel like we
Mhm.
can't have a lot of people over because it's got like multi levels. So like everybody's crammed in the entryway, or they're all crammed in the kitchen, or they're all crammed on the
Mhm.
couch. Like it's all just like crampy. You
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, defining what's important to you.
Yeah,
Is the idea
yeah.
of like having
That's a good
everyone
point.
together and
Mhm.
ways to make that happen. We don't have to have the solution right now, but you're
Mhm.
defining that's
Getting
an important
close.
element
Yeah.
to you.
And I bet you they're still having a really good time.
No, and when I think about that, I'm like,
Mhm.
gosh, I sat on the ground all the time at my grandparents' house, and
Yes.
it never bothered me.
And I
because
love
I was
that,
like, we
yeah.
were all together in the
Uh-huh.
same room, and every time I'm like, gosh, are we gonna move, or like, do we have kids here? Like, I just
Mhm.
am like, why should it matter if we don't
Mhm.
have the space technically for it? So it's probably a little inner soul searching I need to do there. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like
Mhm.
that a lot, though. I mean, you like you said, you have plenty more to think about with it, and there could be multiple solutions. Maybe the solution is like, this is fine. Everyone's having a good time, like Hilary is saying. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily
Yeah.
need to make a big
Big,
change.
huge,
It
yeah.
can just live this way.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
or it could be, you burn down the house for the insurance money. I don't know.
Come
Oh,
back
you
to
can't put that on the
insurance.
podcast. You're ruining my plans.
Hilary,
I'll blow
anything
that
for you?
candle out when I get home.
Oh yeah, I've done that or not done that. Yeah, I think we also like to entertain, and it's usually small groups. Like we've had a few big parties, and I just like can't handle that. But the smaller groups, we have a lot of fun
Yeah,
with.
that makes sense why I've never made the
Yeah.
invite.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small list now. But I aesthetically like love a lot about our space. But like when the tree goes out, some of the furniture gets shoved into another room, and then like that room is hardly usable. But then I'm like, it's a guest room that I think in the nearly of over 4 years we've lived together, I think somebody stayed in that room twice.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
Why does it matter?
why am I holding on to this guest room?
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
But you have to like walk through sideways to get to the front door. But I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody ever comes. We go through the front door to get the mail. And so like so many times I wish it was more open
Yeah.
and it feels cramped. And I like all our stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much to move around
Yeah.
and clean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So back to that anxiety piece where like you've got enough things that you're like, is this too much? Is that what elements do I really love and have meaning to me versus like I think are cute and I want to hold on to just because they look beautiful?
Yep.
I mean, that's back to the
Mhm.
idea Renee brought up about soul searching a little bit. Kind of do a little bit of that to kind of ultimately arrive at
We can go on our journey together.
Yeah, I just
Hilary.
prefer to tell other people to do that than to do that myself, you know?
Just do it while I'm gone. Take it away.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 more steps. Hopefully we can, I think this is a good segue into the second one for sure, that we can blast through. This first one I think is the most important though. You have to ask that question about what's important to you, what's not working, and kind of go from there. So the second step though, for living with intention is clearing the excess.
I think that's so huge.
I know Becca loves that. Loves this step. Not everybody does. It doesn't mean that but I think the thing about this one doesn't mean that you have to get rid of everything. You don't have to have like the bare bones living kind of house, because some of those things you want to hold on to because they mean something to you and they make you smile by walking past this armoire that you got from your grandparents that like it's barely, the door doesn't even totally function anymore. Maybe it sticks a little bit, but it like makes you smile knowing that you got this from centuries ago and it's a part of your life. That decision you can make in addition to determining what elements you don't have that attachment to. So evaluate your possessions. You can ask yourself if each item serves a purpose, brings you joy, like we talked about. Consider a focus on quality over quantity in this area. Streamline your commitments is another part of this as well. Like some of us set up our homes for different extracurricular activities that we don't even really like that much. And we're just like, I got to do this because it's expected of me. But maybe there's parts of your life where you can streamline and decide, I've made a rank assessment of the things that I enjoy, and I've been doing this thing for years and years and years, and now I don't enjoy it anymore. So clearing the excess. Becca, Hilary, any thoughts on clearing the excess? I mean, any tips, advice that you can give, Becca, I feel like is a good starting place since you're so good at it.
I mean, I still have lots of stuff in excess, I feel like. But I think if you for me, like if there's a day and I'm like, I'm going to start getting rid of stuff and it's like a good day and I'm like, have no attachment to any of these things, then like, I think you just got to keep going. Like you take that day and like get rid of all the stuff then. Cause there are other days when I'm like, oh, I'm going to clean out my closet and like, I can't for whatever reason get rid of anything. But then there's other days where it's like, I'll just grab a whole section and that's going so I feel like if you're in that mode, like you got to go with it and try and like get through as many things as possible. So I feel like you got to try and find that right time that works. Cause
that's a super great point.
Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But I think it just, there's so much like hectic stuff in the world and in everyone's lives that like, and to me, like having the extra stuff like makes it feel even more hectic. So like getting rid of stuff is a
little bit of therapy.
Yes.
Yes. It makes everything else that's chaos around you seem like you can have some sort of control over it.
Yeah.
Is it something like you said mode? Is it like you set a quarterly time frame? Is it just like you're just like when it strikes, you take it?
No, I mean I usually try and have one day a week.
One day a week.
Even like where it's like, all right, I'm gonna like organize something or clean out something.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but like then sometimes that something turns into like a lot of things, which is fine. Cause like I'll be like, oh yeah, that was it. Like so I might, if I'm not feeling it, I might just do something small. But like I feel like just even getting rid of a little, like a few things.
Yeah.
Feels so good.
Better than hanging on to
Yeah.
those
So I try and like
things
one day
for-
a week, just be like, all right, like every Thursday, like I'm going to clean something out or organize something. And usually when I'm organizing something, things go because it's like, I don't need this. It's expired for whatever. Like there's I feel like a lot of that. So like I try just once a week and it doesn't even have to be a lot of time. Like it could be like a small thing where it takes like 20 minutes to go through it or organize it.
Definitely.
So
that's good advice though.
For me, it's once a week.
Having a set appointment, whether it is weekly or monthly or quarterly, whatever works for you, I think it helps kind of, it's great if you can like make the mood strike at that time and but at least having the appointment knows that it's something that you're committing to and like maybe the mood isn't going to strike on that day and you just have to accept that today's not the day it's going to happen, but you've got the next week or the next month that comes around to try it again. So I think that's really great advice. But ultimately you have to kind of ask that question. I think the Marie Kondo approach to it, right? Is this thing sparking joy? Is this thing like mean something to me? Do I have Is it bringing something into my life from a practical standpoint? And then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time. So I'm going to go into the last step, which is the last step for living with intention is making decisions from a place of purpose. So I'm segueing pretty good. From each of these steps.
Wow. Almost like you prepared for
I
this.
know. It's like I wrote this
something.
down and had some thoughts on it. So your home, obviously, it's a living, breathing thing. It's continuous. All the soul searching that you did in that first step was really only a starting point, discovering your passions. One day you might wake up and decide that pottery isn't your cup of tea anymore, and in that area that you carved out in the guest room to throw some clay around is just doesn't make any sense anymore. Or that exercise bike that's working really well as a coat rack. You've decided, you know what, maybe there's a different area thing that I can do to hold my coats. So I also think about this too, as like if your space, looks beautiful, but it's not reflecting you as a person. It's not telling the story of your life and your journey together with the people who are in it. A lot of people are left with these good-looking, soulless places that feel like you're living on a stage. And I don't think that inspires anybody. That doesn't get you up in the morning, doesn't make you really excited to come home. And making your home life your best life means that those things should be true. So any thoughts, Hilary? I feel like, you're a pretty purposeful person in many things. Is any advice that you might give people about thinking about making decisions from a place of purpose?
Yeah, I'm pretty good about like clothes, things like that. I'm really good about letting that stuff go. And I think because too, it was like less of an investment in some of these larger furniture pieces that I'm hanging on to, but just paying attention to how often you use them and how you use them. I can't remember where I picked up this trick, but in my closet, the start of the year, turn all of your clothes hangers the opposite direction.
Oh yes.
Because when you put them back, you're going to put them back the normal way.
Right.
And so at the end of set time, all of these clothes that are still turned around the other way, you haven't worn those in a year, whatever, things like that. And so I'm thinking about, we have this crazy amount of drinking glasses, and I drink water out of one vessel. And I drink coffee out of one vessel, and I drink Diet Coke out of one vessel. I don't know why we need
so many.
2 cabinets plus a wall hanging rack of.
Oh my.
That's
and
too
so,
much.
I just paying attention to how often you use it and how you're using it. And that could make space for something more functional, which I think is the goal. Gives me some solace, that I can let this go and replace it with something better.
Yeah. I think all these steps build on each other really well, and they're happening almost in conjunction with each step too. Trusting your instincts when you're making these decisions, whether it's deciding what you have a passion for, or deciding what you don't need in your life, or making sure that it's actually working in the way that you want it to or expect it to. That's how you make this thing happen. So I think we covered a lot. We talked about living with intention in 3 steps: defining what's important to you, clearing the excess, and making decisions from a place of purpose. And I think my top tip, Tyler's top tip for this episode, has to be asking that question of what's not working. I think that's the entry point to being able to make improvements, is to decide where you've got an issue. So that's all that I have for today. Thank you to Becca and Hilary, and to Renee, and of course to Scott, our producer. Thanks to everyone listening. Make sure to check out nfm.com for more ways to make your home life your best life. And until next time, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Waltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.